Welcome into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Coming your way on today's show, we're more than a week into 49ers training camp with preseason coming up not long in the distance. So it's the perfect time to take a look at some 49ers training camp winners and losers. First, though, shout out to Mint Mobile for making the 49ers Report today possible. They're changing the cell phone game with plans as little as $15 per month on America's largest 5G network, which also includes unlimited talk and text. I've seen a lot of you in the comment section saying, I made the switch to Mint Mobile. I've been able to save a lot of money and the coverage is great. I've been able to do the same. You want to be like us and start saving cash? Head to mintmobile.com/chatsports to start saving today. We begin, of course, with our winners so far up to this point in training camp. And honestly, we could talk about Charvarius Ward, and then it's everybody else who might be a winner. 5 winners and a couple of losers as well, but Charvarius Ward by far and away has made a splash. It looks as though this is money well spent for the San Francisco front office because he has played like, he has performed like a true number one lockdown cornerback up to this point in training camp. Rarely giving up receptions, coming through with multiple interceptions up to this point in training camp of Trey Lance, Nate Sudfeld, and he's dazzled throughout this entire offseason. And right now, this San Francisco defense, this San Francisco secondary, looks to be a lot better than it was last year. And when you look at this secondary, you have Ward, Emmanuel Moseley as the bona fide number 1 and 2 options, on top of the fact that this pass rush and this defensive line is as talented and as deep as any in the league. That's going to allow Ward and Moseley and everybody else in this secondary to feast and eat, and so far that has been the case in training camp. So Charvarius Ward, $14 million per year is a steal if he ends up being that true legitimate number 1 lockdown corner, and up to this point he's been as advertised. And he tweeted this out on Monday, loving my new team. Well, Charvarius, given what everybody has said about you, they love you back, and this fan base, once they see you in action, for those not on hand during these practices, they're really going to be a big fan of you and start copping that number 35 jersey. Winner number 2 is Trey Lance. Some might say that this is controversial. Some might say it's about time that Trey Lance is getting some recognition and credit. Now, there are going to be detractors out there, and it's weird that people are so negative when it comes to Trey Lance. I think it comes down to the fact that people just didn't like the draft selection. But Lance has been a winner for a couple of reasons. Why? He's getting much-needed reps with Jimmy Garoppolo doing sprints and some throwing drills on the side field. He was told, Garoppolo was, that he could stay away from the facility if he wanted to. He's elected to stay around to further his rehabilitation process. But he hasn't been on the practice field, and because of that, Trey Lance has reaped those benefits, getting all of the much-needed reps that he needs because the inexperience factor is the biggest concern for him. Day in and day out as well, he is facing a top-tier defense that arguably is the best defense in the National Football League. Can you imagine the rigors of practices every single day going up against this pass rush that has been breathing down the neck of Trey Lance, and the secondary that's been really good, and one of the best and most well-rounded linebacking cores? That makes Trey Lance better, and there's that saying out there, iron sharpens iron. The defense is the iron that's sharpening Trey Lance right now, allowing him to further his development. He's excelled at throwing the deep ball, something that's been missing from this Niners offense the last couple of years because that's just not Jimmy Garoppolo's game. And we've seen Lance make strides forward. Yes, he's made some mistakes, but keep in mind, in these practices, sometimes you're going to try to make a throw that you would not attempt in real game action because you just want to get a feel for what you can do in the tight windows that you can fit the ball in, but the game is starting to slow down for Lance, and because of that, his play is getting a little bit better, and in turn, gaining confidence, making better choices, and also he's been able to gash this defense a little bit once the play breaks down because he's utilizing his legs, something else that Jimmy Garoppolo also doesn't bring this team. So far we've talked about Ward, the free agent acquisition, and the face of the franchise now in Trey Lance, the former number 3 overall pick. Which player are you most excited about this year? It can be one of those two guys. It can be somebody else. Either way, drop me a name in the comment section right now. Brandon Aiyuk has also been stellar, partially and mostly because he has that rapport working with Trey Lance. They worked out this offseason in Southern California. They lived together. They trained together, and their connection, it's been on point. He's really developed a good rapport and sense of continuity with the 49ers' new starting quarterback. He's having the best training camp of his career, which is really important for him because he's going into a critical season, is Aiyuk. Year 3 for him, former first-round pick. The Niners, after this year, can exercise that fifth-year option to give him that guaranteed money like they did with Nick Bosa. But what Aiyuk is trying to do right now, prove that he can be a legitimate go-to wide receiver, and in turn, he can start making some pretty bread as well. And for Aiyuk, the potential is certainly there. He just needs to be a little bit more consistent. The rookie year, 11 games played, 60 catches, 748 yards. That's an impressive debut season for him going in the 20s out of Arizona State. And then last year, he was missing from this offense for the first several weeks. Then he really started to find another gear. And you look at the numbers back-to-back years. 748 receiving yards in year 1, 826 in year 2. Goes to show you the arrow is pointing up for Brandon Aiyuk, and players on the team are challenging him because they understand that he can be great. That's why him and Fred Warner got in a little bit of a scuffle during practice on Tuesday, because Warner got under his nerves and under his skin, but he sees that Aiyuk can be great, and Aiyuk has the potential to be that player. Up to this point in training camp, he's been Trey Lance's go-to number 1 option. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the 49ers Report, make sure you do so right now. Over the last couple of weeks, we've really started to increase our coverage with training camp here. Just hit that red subscribe button for free daily videos covering all of the latest breaking news, analysis, news, and rumors. Once the preseason starts, the regular season is here. We'll be doing watch parties for every single game. And after our YouTube and Rumble shows wrap up every week, we even do live podcasts where you can call into the show on call-in. All reasons why you got to hop on board the movement. And if you're a real one, you're subscribed to the channel right now. Another winner as we shift for the first time to the defensive side of the football, Emmanuel Moseley. All of the hype has been for Charvarius Ward, but he has made Emmanuel Moseley better, and it's made this secondary a really legitimate unit. Last year in 2021 for Moseley, and he's kind of continued this momentum into training camp thus far. No touchdowns allowed in coverage, 11 pass breakups on 74 targets. He had 495 coverage snaps in total and only allowed 33 receiving yards per game. Emmanuel Moseley is a player who's continued to get better. He's gotten into the lab to work on his deficiencies and his weaknesses, and the byproduct of that has been an ascending player whose arrow is pointing up and the trajectory also upward. And again, going back to what I said earlier about Ward, this can be one of the better secondaries in the NFL. Richard Sherman said as much, and he's a football analyst now. Emmanuel Moseley, Charvarius Ward, really excited about this secondary. And with this secondary, all just a big conversation that's going down with this defense right now, because some believe that the Niners could be one of the best defensive units in the NFL. Do you think that? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Last winner before we pivot to our losers, Deebo Samuel has to be a winner because he got the deal done just in time for him to put on the pads and start building that kinship with Trey Lance. He had it with Jimmy Garoppolo. Now he's going to be with Lance over the next couple of years following that 3-year extension. And for him to get this deal done, it's important, and he's a winner because he got a lot of guaranteed money. And for San Francisco to get this deal done, they're winners because they get one of the best and most well-rounded offensive players in the league on the field practicing alongside their young quarterback. The deal, 3 years in case you missed it, $71.5 million in total, $58 million in guaranteed money, average annual value less than 24. I think that right there is a steal. What's also interesting is that Deebo's role might be the same as it was a year ago because of the contractual incentives that are in the fine print of this deal. There were rumors when Deebo Samuel made that trade request public that he was unhappy with Kyle Shanahan's usage of him. doesn't look as though that's the case. Money changes a lot of things. Adam Schefter tweeted this out, that Deebo will receive $650,000 per year for each year he has 380 or more rushing yards. He had a little less than that last year. He'll also earn $150,000 if he scores 3 rushing touchdowns in any year. He surpassed that number last year, so you see the contractual numbers that he maxes out at on a yearly basis. So our training camp winners, about a week and change into practices, Charvarius Ward, Trey Lance, Brandon Aiyuk, Emmanuel Moseley, and Deebo Samuel. We'll get to our losers coming up just around the bend, but first, today's sponsor, Mint Mobile. It's a cell phone company owned by the famous actor Ryan Reynolds, and they're flipping the cell phone game on its head and changing the way that people think about these monthly plans, with plans starting as low as $15 per month. Did I mention that it's on America's largest 5G network, which goes coast to coast, kind of like a Trey Lance deep ball, hopefully soon, to Deebo Samuel, unlimited talk and text, high-speed data, a mobile hotspot, and even your parents are going to start to ask you, why are you calling me so much? It's because I get unlimited talk and text. So sign up today and start saving money by heading to mintmobile.com/chatsports. I'll put that link for the faithful in the comment section and the description of this video. So many people are getting hit hard still by the pandemic, inflation, and the after effects of it. You can save some money by using that link down below. Training camp losers now. Now, it's funny because this is our live show on Tuesday, and on Tuesday, during the practice, Danny Gray had his best practice so far as a rookie. But prior to Tuesday's session, he had struggled to beat press coverage, he dropped some catchable passes, and he looked as though he was just a one-trick pony, displaying that 4.3 speed that made him extremely desirable in the pre-draft process, that he ran that 40-yard dash at the NFL Scouting Combine. But before Tuesday, vertical speed was his only plus trait. Is going to have to be a little bit more reliable in terms of catching the football and beating press coverage if he wants to see consistent snaps during the regular season. Daniel Brunskill, another loser along the offensive line here as we go from wide receiver to the trenches. And offensive line as a whole can just be a loser so far in training camp because Trey Lance has been running for his life back there. On Monday's session, he dropped back like 15 times, and he had to scurry out of the pocket 11 or 12 times because this defensive line was generating a lot of pressure. Daniel Brunskill on Tuesday did get some first-team reps at center ahead of Jake Brendel. But up to this point, Brendel primarily has been the number 1 center, and Brunskill's been getting the second-team center reps, and he hasn't been getting starting right guard reps because Spencer Burford, the 4th-round pick out of UTSA, has been occupying that role. Things can change in a blimp. Things can change very quickly, but Daniel Brunskill a little bit disappointing up to this portion of the offseason programs. Jeff Wilson, our last training camp loser. He missed practice because of an undisclosed injury, and other running backs on this roster have performed better, and because of that, I think Jeff Wilson's status on this roster a little bit in question if he wants to make the 53. That undisclosed injury, not sure what it is up to this point as of this recording, but with him out, Elijah Mitchell getting basically all of the first-team reps up to this juncture. Davis-Price Trey Sermon, the backups for Elijah Mitchell, they've received meaningful running back reps as well, and I won't be surprised at all if Wilson doesn't make the club. First, he can't make the club from the tub. 2, there's a little bit of a youth movement at that running back spot, and Elijah Mitchell, Davis-Price Trey Sermon have been playing well, the latter of which Sermon catching some balls out of the backfield, making some guys miss in some instances. Now, that's something interesting. We'll continue to monitor that. Jeff Wilson does have a lot of talent, but he has been injured a lot throughout his NFL career. So that does it for our winners and losers segment here on the show. Before we hop on out of here, I want you to name your top winner and your top loser in the comments section. Faithful, show up, show out, chime in, and join the conversation.